Late February, 2023. It has been a month since 𝒖𝒂𝒄 returned to Japan. A lot has happened since then. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was back in Miyagi to visit his family for a week and to see his old friends from 𝒂𝒔𝒄. His ankle healed better and better. Mattsun had instructed him to do exercises by himself this week. Although slowly and carefully, 𝒖𝒂𝒄 could now walk again without crutches. It wouldn't be long until he could start practicing volleyball again. Since Sugar and Daichi took him home, he now hung out with them a lot throughout the week. Of course he also spent plenty of time with his family. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was like a changed man. A few weeks ago he was still dead sad, whereas today he shines like the happiest person on earth. Of course there was a reason for all of this. 𝒖𝒔𝒊𝒄. Since they met and talked about their past, a weight had fallen from both their hearts. They were finally reunited and they kept in touch every day. It was almost as if 𝒖𝒂𝒄 had his best friend back. Almost. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 had to admit that he still had feelings for 𝒖𝒔𝒊𝒄. He didn't want to jeopardize his friendship again because of that, so he tried to suppress them. However, this did not work out so well. Hanamaki and Mattsun also came to Miyagi for the weekend when the meeting with Aoba Josei's former team was scheduled. Everyone was amazed but also happy to see their former captain again. After all, it had been almost 2 years since they had last seen him. Since 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was injured, they decided to postpone their volleyball match until next time. Instead, they spent the evening in a bar and chatted. After the meeting, 𝒖𝒂𝒄, Hanamaki and Mattsun went home together. I don't believe it. Yahaba and Pawtiful finally made it. I think that was the biggest surprise for all of us today. Finally. They had been buzzing around each other for ages. And still Pawtiful was the first one to ask for 𝒖𝒂𝒄 today. Hanamaki grinned mischievously. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He furrowed his eyebrows and gave Hanamaki an evil look back. 𝒖𝒂𝒄, where's your 𝒖𝒂𝒄-chan? 𝒖𝒂𝒄-chan. Hanamaki and Mattsun teased 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and laughed. He is not my 𝒖𝒂𝒄-chan. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 pouted and Hanamaki raised his eyebrows. What's with that face? What? Looks like you wish he was. Mattsun joked, but 𝒖𝒂𝒄 blushed and suddenly stopped looking at his friends in shock. They walked a few more steps until they realized that 𝒖𝒂𝒄 wasn't following. They turned around at the same time to check on him, raising their eyebrows. Suddenly Hanamaki's chin dropped and his expression changed. Hua. 𝒖𝒂𝒄, you're not serious, are you? What? 𝒖𝒂𝒄's voice cracked. Hanamaki was beside himself. Are you fucking kidding me? Maki. Hanamaki raised his hand to stop Mattsun from continuing. He walked up to 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and flicked his forehead. Ouch, Maki. What the hell? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 rubbed the spot that hurt. Yeah, what the hell? What the hell, 𝒖𝒂𝒄? Mattsun sighed and pulled Hanamaki a bit away from 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Wasn't it like you who broke up with him? I know. Oh my gosh, what do you want from me? I swear, 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Hanamaki was about to go after 𝒖𝒂𝒄 when Mattsun blocked his way with his arm. They stared at each other until Mattsun rolled his eyes and sighed. Pull yourself together, Maki. Hanamaki stared into Mattsun's eyes for a while, then took a deep breath and tried to calm down again. He was still very mad. Since when? Hey. Since when do you have feelings for him again? Since you reconciled with him? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 sighed and took a few steps towards his friends. No. Maki clenched his fists. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 looked at the ground and thought about how to say it best. 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Maki almost warned him in an irritated voice. Mattsun put his hand on his shoulder to calm him down. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 now stood in front of Hanamaki and looked him in the eyes. He hummed. As if you didn't already suspected Maki. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smirked. He took that risk. I guess I never stopped loving him. Hanamaki's eyes widened and before he could realize it himself he smacked 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Maki. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 staggered back a few steps and held his nose, which began to bleed. Mattsun ran to 𝒖𝒂𝒄 to check on him. Hanamaki exhaled deeply, realizing he was holding his breath. Are you okay? Yeah, let go of me. Shit, I'm sorry, Kava. Hanamaki ran to 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and checked if his face was okay. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 stared into Maki's worried eyes and couldn't help but laugh. Maki's expression also relaxed and he chuckled. Mattsun sighed, walked away and lit a cigarette. Sorry. I guess I deserved that. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smiled at Hanamaki, letting out small laughs. Mattsun, stop smoking. It's bad for your health. You people are really exhausting. I thought this was going to get out of control. I have to get rid of my stress now. Maki stroked the spot where he had just hit 𝒖𝒂𝒄. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 hissed in pain. Fortunately that's not going to be a black eye. Jeez. Sorry. Stop apologizing, Maki. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smiled weakly at him and Maki looked at him apologetically. They sat down and talked for a while. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 tried to stop his nosebleed. I'm glad you care so much about 𝒖𝒔𝒄. Hanamaki slapped 𝒖𝒂𝒄 on his head. Ouch Maki. You are important to us too 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Then stop abusing me. I can't help myself if you talk such stupid nonsense. You are rude. Calm down. Both. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 pouted and Hanamaki sat down next to 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Why did you even leave him if you still love him? Because I wanted him to be happy. Mattsun exhaled smoke and tilted his head. Hanamaki frowned. And what made you think he would be happy without you? Long distance relationship. He would always stay in Japan and I wouldn't leave Argentina. Where would that end? But weren't you something like the true love for each other? Maybe in high school days, but the moment we parted ways changed everything. What do you mean? Well, we've always been together. Day and night. I didn't know a life without Iwa and I never wanted to imagine it, and then suddenly we were thousands of miles apart. The friends frowned and 𝒖𝒂𝒄 put his head in the back of his neck and looked at the night sky. It was the same each time. We both got our hopes up that one of us would go to the other soon after all, and in the end he stayed in Japan and I stayed in Argentina. It just made every goodbye worse. Is Japan not an option for you? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 looked Mattsun in the eyes and smiled. As much as I miss you all and as much as I love you all, Argentina is home for me. I could never leave my team there. And did you ever ask Iwa if he would come to you? That would have been too selfish. I knew it was his dream to be on the national athletic trainer team. Hanamaki gave Mattsun a concerned look, then turned back to 𝒖𝒂𝒄. And now what? Are you going to tell him? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smiled sadly and looked Hanamaki in the eyes. I won't tell him. Maybe he will find the love of his life. That's the biggest bullshit I've heard in a long time. Maki. Mattsun gave Hanamaki a threatening look. Maki sighed. You are the love of his life, Carver. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 slowly stood up, the looks of his friends following him. I'm not going to jeopardize our friendship just to relive what we've been going through for the past few years. I can't go through a long distance relationship again. I don't want either of us to give up his dream and I don't want to lose Iwa-chan again. Maki stood up and hugged 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Do you know how fucked up he was because of you? I can only imagine. At least as much as you were, Carver. Mattsun also hugged his two friends and they stayed like that for a while. Back in Tokyo, 𝒖𝒂𝒄 spent a lot of time with his friends. During the day he was busy with rehabilitation with Mattsun, while in the evening he usually met with his friends at either Kenma's or at Sumu's place. Today however was Saturday and 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and Iwaizumi had arranged to meet at Iwaizumi's place. Since the Japanese national team was in the final stages of training camp this week, there was a lot for Iwaizumi to do, which is why he also had to work on Saturdays. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 hung out with Iwaizumi for a bit while he finished the rest of the paperwork. When he was done, they decided to cook together, or rather Iwaizumi had decided to cook something, since 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was not much of a help. It was amazing how quickly they found their way back to each other. As if there had never been these 2 years of no contact. Nevertheless, there were also moments when 𝒖𝒂𝒄 did not know how to act. He didn't want to get too close to Iwaizumi and he certainly didn't want to show him any feelings that went beyond their friendship. The two were talking and fooling around while cooking when suddenly 𝒖𝒂𝒄's phone rang. Oh, I have to take this, it's the coach. Iwaizumi nodded. On the call. Jose. Hola Toru. I just checked your file. You are really making progress. Yes, Mattsun was really the best choice. He is a huge help. That's right. I would like to discuss with you how to proceed. Do you have time right now? Wait a second. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 looked at Iwaizumi, who was busy cooking. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 pointed to his phone and silently spoke the words meeting about training to signal Iwaizumi what it was about. He pointed to the food and spoke again silently. How long? Iwaizumi whispered back. About 30 to 45 minutes. Just go to the back room. A big smile appeared on 𝒖𝒂𝒄's face and he gave a thumbs up. Then he disappeared into the back room to discuss everything else with Jose. Go ahead. Okay, so here's the deal. According to Mattsun's report you should be able to walk fine without crutches by now. Correct. Then we need to start your training now, without you hurting yourself again, of course. That means I should come back already? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 couldn't help but sound a little disappointed. No, not yet. Mattsun should continue to treat you at least for the next 3 weeks. Just not so intensively. And the training? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was confused. Will one of the athletic trainer team come to Tokyo? Yesterday after talking to Mattsun, I talked to the coach of the Japanese national team, Fuki Hiberida. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 frowned and furrowed his brows. Mattsun had recommended that perhaps you continue your training with Iwaizumi and it would be okay for Hiberida, but well. Before it's decided, I wanted to ask you first what you think. I mean, is everything okay between you again? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 swallowed. Of course this was Mattsun's doing. Mattsun, you rat. Yes, it's alright. We talked for a long time. I'm glad to hear that. Then we'll do it like this. 𝒖𝒔𝒄 hesitated. Why yeah. Great. I'll take care of everything else then. I think you will start practicing on Monday. You should get more detailed information from Mattsun. We will stay in contact. Alright. Of course. Have a good rest, Toru. Thanks Jose. See you soon. 𝒖𝒔𝒄 hung up and had to sat down for a while. What kind of mess had Mattsun gotten him into again? How should I suppress my feelings for him if I have to see him every day now? Shit. 𝒖𝒂𝒄's eyes widened. How am I supposed to tell him that now? This makes the whole situation really unpleasant. What if everything between us gets weird again? What if he doesn't want that at all? What if he finds out that I still have a crush on him just because he thinks I set this all up? What if? 𝒖𝒂𝒄's thoughts were interrupted when he received a smack on the head. He looked up startled and stared into the face of Iwaizumi, who had raised both eyebrows and sat down next to him. Ouch. You ignored me. I was deep in thoughts. You were too deep in thoughts. That's why I just brought you back. You could have done that a little more gently. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 rubbed his head. You wouldn't have reacted otherwise. I was standing here for literally 10 minutes. TSK I doubt that. Iwaizumi grinned. And, what about your training? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Suddenly Iwaizumi's phone vibrated. It was the head of the athletic trainer team. Oh, hold on. Iwaizumi answered the call and stood up. Yo. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 stared skeptically at Iwaizumi who was on the phone. Iwaizumi on the other hand, abruptly turned to 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and raised an eyebrow. Oh really? 𝒖𝒂𝒄 frowned. Iwaizumi walked over to the couch and grabbed a pillow, then threw it at 𝒖𝒂𝒄. He got the full brunt of it. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 whispered. The hell? Iwaizumi looked somewhat somberly. Aha. Yeah, no problem. I can handle it. Good, then we'll stay like this. See you then. Iwaizumi hung up and gave 𝒖𝒂𝒄 a death stare. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 shivered. What? Were you so busy thinking about how you're going to tell me I'm going to train you starting Monday? Caught. Iwaizumi threw another pillow at 𝒖𝒂𝒄 and his cold expression changed. Crap 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Why are you worrying so much about this? I don't know. I didn't want anything to come out wrong. Iwaizumi laughed. You could have told me that. I already know that Mattsun is behind this. Iwaizumi dropped down next to 𝒖𝒂𝒄, his hands behind his back and leaned back a little. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smiled at him. Now I have to work tomorrow after all and make a training schedule for you. Thank you, crap 𝒖𝒂𝒄. EHH. Stop calling me that. You're a real burden, shit 𝒖𝒂𝒄. Alright. I'm sorry. Crap 𝒖𝒂𝒄 was nicer after all. Both smiled at each other. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 grabbed one of the pillows, lashed out and pushed it full force into Iwaizumi's stomach. Iwaizumi made a few seemingly hurt sounds and laughed. Do you think you can fix me? No, you are a hopeless case. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 pouted while Iwaizumi grinned at him. I'm good at my job. We'll get you fixed up. 𝒖𝒂𝒄 smiled slightly. Thank you, Iwa. Sure thing. Come on, let's eat. Iwaizumi got up and went to the kitchen, 𝒖𝒂𝒄 following him. He was still pondering whether it was such a good idea for Iwaizumi to treat him. We're just practicing together, right? What should actually happen? But little did he know how things would turn out.